such sale occurs, then the cost of removal of the structure as detailed in the contract specifications shall be credited to the town. 2, that the contractor and owner will work to reduce the cost of construction for various project elements through a process of value engineering. 3, at the owner's discretion, additional contractors, vendors, or other service providers will be placed under RP Murray's general control and supervision to facilitate the completion of the project. The owner and contractor will negotiate a separate rate for such services. 4, the contractor shall maintain and honor their bid quote for Phase 2 of the Summerfield Athletic Park until September 15, 2009, with the exception of costs associated with the purchase of asphalt. 5, that the contractor and the owner accept addendum letter dated July 7, 2009 for clarifications to the bid specifications. Let me address there's a question from Ms. Strickland regarding item number 4.
Can I interrupt you? Can I read this in total for everybody, and then you address each of them one at a time so it'll make more sense?
I was going to do that. I just wanted to read that into the record because those were the specific elements of the contract. This afternoon, Ms. Strickland sent me an email, which I think everyone has a copy of. Bill, you have a copy, right?
I did, and I want to apologize. I told Ms. Strickland I was out of the office at a hearing after I left your office today, and I didn't get this one.
The RFM contract 71409, is this a fixed fee contract, or a cost plus fixed fee contract, and why? Bill, you want to weigh in on that? Because maybe a difference of opinions.
Well, first, as a caveat, that doesn't have any. We reviewed the contract for whether it's legal sufficiency. The terms and conditions have an effect on the town and finances, not necessarily legal implications. So I didn't review the contract for it. Going back to Contracts 101, from my recollection of the contract, if you have a base price, overhead, and a profit, I would say it is a cost plus contract. Or no, pardon me, a fixed fee contract. I misspoke. The reverse, fixed fee contract. You have a cost and then a fixed fee.
You have a cost plus a fixed fee.
Yes, that would be.
Cost plus a fixed fee is a kind of cost plus contract.
It is. That's why the question was confusing.
Your answer's confusing. I'm confused.
Well, it's a cost, right? Overhead, and then a profit. So it's cost plus a fixed fee of, we're going to make $855 on the contract.
So that makes it a cost plus contract and not a, quote, fixed fee award contract.
But there's a total bid amount.
Correct.
That fixes the total lump sum. So,
because the way I view a cost plus contract is you don't know what the costs are going to be yet. The costs are determined. Because I built my house on a cost plus basis and I didn't know the costs prior to entering into that contract. There was a cap, but I didn't know the costs going in. This contract, you know the costs going in, and they've also stated their fee, so it is a fixed fee, is the way I view this contract. See where I'm coming from? Because the cost.
Yeah, but we have a different understanding of what constitutes a cost plus contract.
Well, an open-ended, my understanding of what a cost plus contract, plain and simple, would be I'm going to charge you cost plus, leaving it open-ended. A cost plus fixed fee and/or a fixed fee contract is I'm going to charge you X plus Y.
and that's what this is.
That's the definition that I use.
Actually, I understood that.
Are you you up for jury duty?
My concern is, why did he build in his profit until the base price that he quoted us?
He did. He just told us what his profit was, is what he did, as one of the unit costs. The next paragraph, the unit cost form submitted by RFM includes both the phase 1 and phase 2. It states, quote, "The costs provided are to include all materials and labor to complete the specified item. Refer to site construction documents for phasing information. This is a unit cost worksheet. Do not assume that all work necessary to complete the project is included herein." This is a caveat to the contractor that while you're doing a unit cost pricing process, there's still some items that are not going to fall exactly into a unit cost of one sort or another. So it's telling them that there may be a little that you're going to have to account for in other ways, and that's just the way they build the worksheet.
Now my next question, does this mean that the town is responsible for unit
No.
cost of more work over and above the
No.
contract quoted in the contract?
No, they're telling us this is the cost. We were telling them to be aware of that fact.
That's why it's fixed.
So there's no adverse financial consequences to us from that?
No,
Okay.
not from that, no. There were some questions about how the price went from the bid amount of $1.194 thousand to the contract amount of $1.27173. The most significant portion of that was the, I think it came to $64,456 was added due to changes in the erosion control plans that were necessitated by Department of Natural Resources review of the erosion control plans, wanting more protections put in place, and that required us to go back to RP Murray, ask them to rebid that portion to add those items that were going to cost additional funds to build. So that's where the majority of that comes from. There's also an allowance for rock. So although we don't believe we're going to find rock, because we've done some soil borings on the site, but if they were to find rock and that required them to remove it, that caused them to cost more money, there's an allowance of $5,000 for rock. And then there's an allowance of $5,000 for bad soils, so that once we get down to grade, we're about to build something, if the soils aren't right and they have to be removed and replaced, there's a $5,000 allowance for that. If that does not get spent, then that's a credit back to us. There is $750 also included that was for maintenance of the plants that are planted as part of the landscape plan for 3 months of maintenance after the park is finished to ensure that they are properly maintained and that they grow in appropriately without having to die off early in the process. So that's, you add those numbers up, and that's where you come to the award contracting. There's a the next, and the work is to be performed in 6 months. So when the contract is signed, 6 months from when the contract is signed, that's their work schedule.
And if they're not finished in 6 months?
I'll get to that. And then the next paragraph, even the addition of the dog construction for erosion control. I think I just addressed part of that. There's also a question about the performance bond. The developer, the contractor is responsible for having a performance bond. That's what the contract requires. It's not I think it specifically states the contractor should provide all payment for performance bonds as required by law. That doesn't mean that they're going to pay for them. That's part of their budgeted amount for construction. So that's why it's listed as a cost of the construction.
And the bond is yours to our benefit, to your benefit, and protects you. If they don't pay their subs, that's one of the changes. It's also statute when the changes are requested.
There's this one you didn't address, then, Michael. I agree with that. What is the unaccounted for? Okay,